Hi, friends. This is the reading lesson for second grade. You need your booklets open to page 30, and you also need a pencil and a highlighter. Today's story is going to be called The Stone Garden. This story is very similar or reimagined to the tale of Stone Soup. So while we're reading it, I want you to see if you can find any similarities between this story, The Stone Garden, and Stone Soup. We will read half of the story today and highlight key details and then write some story events. And then tomorrow we will finish the story and highlight and write some story events as well. So if you are ready, we will go ahead and get started.
Extended Read 2. Remember to annotate as you read.
The Stone Garden, a reimagining of Stone Soup by Jeffrey First. The houses on Yancey Place were on the small side. They were kind of old, too, but the homes were neat. The yards were tidy. The people of Yancey Place were proud of their neighborhood. That changed when the gas station on the corner closed. The owners took out the gas tanks. They took out the pumps. They knocked down the building where you got snacks. All that was left was an empty lot. Well, it wasn't empty. Stones, bricks, broken slate, plastic bottles, and old tires were everywhere. "This is an eyesore," said the people of Yancey Place. A small crowd stood in front of the litter-filled lot. "What can be done about it?" "There is nothing we can do," cried a woman with 10-year-old twins. "To make it even worse, now I am afraid to let my kids ride their bikes. They might go into the lot and hurt themselves."
Okay, so let's stop right there and let's start highlighting what we've learned so far. So we know that this place is called Yancey Place. It's a street name. And we know that the people were very proud of their neighborhood, right? So probably should highlight that. But then something happened. The gas station on the corner closed, and they took out the gas tanks and the pumps, and they knocked down the building, and all that was left was an empty lot. So let's highlight this first sentence in paragraph 2, and we'll highlight this one as well. Oops. All that was left was an empty lot. And the people that live there, they're so sad now. And what do they call this place? How do they describe it? They say this is an eyesore, right? Something that hurts your eyes. It is a litter-filled lot. And they're trying to think of what can they do about it? And a woman says, well, there's nothing we can do. And I don't even feel comfortable letting my kids ride their bikes there, right? They might get hurt. Pretty sad, right? But if you know about Stone Soup, you know that something is about to happen. So let's check back in and see what happens next.
Voices rose, then grew quiet. An old man in a cloth cap stepped through the crowd. He was a visitor to Yancey Place. He went into the lot. He looked around. "This is not an eyesore," he said. "It is a lovely stone garden." Then the visitor took off his backpack and rolled up his sleeves. He pushed a large stone to the center of the lot.
Okay, so much happened in this one little paragraph, right? So we know that a visitor showed up to Yancey Place, and he says, "This is not an eyesore. It's a lovely stone garden." And then what does he do? He adds to this area. He pushed a large stone to the center of the lot. And look at all of the people right here. They're watching him. Let's see what happens next.
A man who had lived his whole life on Yancey Place laughed. "You call that junkyard a stone garden?" Others in the crowd laughed with him. The visitor showed no sign of being insulted. He said, "I have traveled the world, sir. I have been to big cities. I have visited grand stone gardens. Let me put some rocks around the big stone. Then you will see the makings of a fine stone garden." The visitor looked carefully at the rubble. He picked up 9 rocks. Each rock was the size of a fist. He placed each rock in a circle around the stone. Said a woman petting a little dog. The dog had a bow in its hair. "I do see the makings of a stone garden."
Okay, so let's stop there. So when the man pushes the rock into the stone garden, the people kind of start to laugh at him, right? They think he's ridiculous. And it says, so a man who had lived there his whole life laughed, and the crowd laughed with him, right? So they're kind of making fun of this visitor, which is not being very kind, right? And then he says, "I've traveled to big cities and I've visited stone gardens. Just watch. We will make this so perfect." So, what does he do? He picked up 9 rocks, each rock the size of a fist, and he placed each rock in a circle around the stone. So, he's starting to make his stone garden. And then a woman says, I see it. Okay, maybe this guy does have something that makes sense. Let's keep reading.
Now the visitor smiled. "Of course," he said. "To make this stone garden world class, we might paint the rocks different colors. I saw that in a stone garden in Paris." "I have some red paint," said the woman with the dog. "I have some blue paint," volunteered another person. Within an hour, the little rocks around the big stone glowed. They were painted with every color of the rainbow. "Yes, indeed," said the visitor. "This is becoming a fine stone garden. Of course, to make a stone garden a garden, it should have plants. It should have flowers."
Okay, so now some of the people are starting to get on board, right? And he says that maybe we should paint the rocks different colors. So that's in paragraph 9. And he's comparing it to something he saw in Paris, which we know Paris is a beautiful place. And then in paragraphs 10 and 11, someone offers red paint, someone offers blue paint, and then the rocks started to get painted every color of the rainbow. Doesn't this sound familiar? Remember in Stone Soup when the man said, Oh, but stone soup is better with an onion and a leg of lamb. And people started saying, oh, I have that. I have that. I can help, right? Now, in paragraph 13, he says, of course, to make a stone garden, a garden, it should have plants and it should have flowers. So if you were to predict what was going to happen next, what do you think the people of Yancey Place are going to bring? Did you say plants? Did you say flowers? If you did, you are correct. Okay, we are going to stop there with reading. Do not continue. You'll have to wait till tomorrow. But now we're going to write some story events. So let's flip back to page 30. Grab your pencils, please. And we're going to write 4 story events. So we're going to write our first one on page 30. And this is going to be for paragraphs 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's call this story event 1. So go ahead and write that and put a colon. And this was before the visitor showed up. So this sentence is going to talk about how the people of Yancey Place feel about their this corner gas station, or this corner lot that used to be a gas station. Okay, so let's start by saying the people of Yancey Place don't like their, what did they call it? Remember right here, a litter filled lot. Instead of there, let's write the litter filled lot in their neighborhood. They don't think there is anything they can do to fix it. Okay, so go ahead and finish writing that. When you're ready, press play on the video and we will write story event number 2. So for story event number 2, we're going to write it on page 31. Start by writing story event 2 and write and put a colon after it. And in paragraphs 5 and paragraph 6, we know that this visitor comes to Yancey Place. And he says that this is not an eyesore, that it's actually a lovely stone garden. But what happens? Everyone starts to laugh at him. Remember? Kind of being rude, right? So let's go ahead. Whoops. There we go. So let's say a visitor tells the people of Yancey Place that this space, or this lot, the lot is not an eyesore, but actually a stone garden. And we'll put lovely stone garden because that's actually what he called it, right? And we're going to write that in quotes because we're taking it exactly from the story. It's a lovely stone garden. And all of the people began to laugh at him, right? So we'll write, everyone laughs at him. So rude and sad, right? Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and turn the page. If you need to pause the video, go ahead. Okay, now story event number 3. We're going to write it on page 32. This is for paragraphs 7, 8, and 9. So story event 3, so paragraphs 7, 8, and 9. All right, so it says that he starts kind of building the stone garden, right? And actually, this is only for paragraph 7 and 8, now that I think about it. So if we look at paragraph 7 and 8, we see that he's starting to build the stone garden, right? And then one lady says, I do see the making of a stone garden, right? So we'll say the visitor starts to make the stone garden, and a woman says she can see it. All right, and we have one more story event to do. Whoops. So when you're ready on page 33, let's write story event 4. And we know that the neighbors start helping to paint the rocks, right? So we'll start by writing that. Okay. And then what happens? Maybe we should say that the neighbors paint the rocks every color of the rainbow. Now, you're going to write this last sentence about what does the visitor suggest they should add next. If you're not sure, look in paragraph 13. We highlighted it. So your job is to finish this story event number 4 by adding one more sentence of what else they add or they should add to the garden. When you are done, you are going to read me your story event on Canvas. Okay? All right, friends, good job. We will finish the story tomorrow. I'll see you later.